Hello there, how you doing? My name is Mukhtar. Today I'm going to talk about how to thrive in a culturally diverse environment. Many of my students from my Communication for Project Leaders class kept on asking me about how to navigate a multicultural setting. So I thought I should do a video because I love to do videos. So here you go. So you might be working in a virtual team or in a remote team or even in a global team. And that team is probably culturally diverse. And that's a good thing. Studies show that culturally diverse teams, culturally diverse companies tend to do better than more homogeneous ones. They tend to be more innovative. They tend to also do better financially. But there are also challenges when it comes to working with culturally diverse teams. And these challenges, if not addressed properly, can be quite destructive. So in order to thrive in a culturally diverse setting, you need to be aware and address these challenges properly. So let's take a look at some of these challenges. Just quickly, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can get more videos like this. And feel free to share this video so that other people can benefit from it. So we're going to look at 4 challenges that are common to culturally diverse teams. The first challenge is attitude towards time. Let's say you get invited to an event which is scheduled for 7 p.m. What do you consider late? 7:03, 7:15, 8:30, or 9:30 the next day?
Easy, Mukhtar.
Okay, I don't think that there's anyone that thinks 9:29 p.m. the next day is early. So let's scratch that. So the answer to this question could vary across cultures. It doesn't mean that one culture is better than the other. It's just a different attitude towards time, and you need to be aware of how time is perceived in your team. In college and university, I was in a culturally diverse setting, and it was just fascinating to see how different cultures responded to time in their own ways. So going back to the 7 p.m. event, if the person hosting the event expects you to arrive at 8 and you arrive at 6:50, you will probably make them feel uncomfortable because they won't be ready to host you. On the flip side, if you arrive at 8 p.m. to the 6:50 person's event, well, the party might just be over. This misperception can cause stress for people on both sides. The 6:50 person sees the 8 p.m. person as being disrespectful, and the 8 p.m. person thinks that the 6:50 person just needs to calm down and not be so uptight. I remember there was a time I had to catch a flight in a country, and I arrived on time, but the flight left 1 hour early. It has never happened to me before. Okay, maybe that wasn't a cultural thing, but I'm trying to make a point here. Or someone tells you, I'm on my way, but they're still sitting on the couch watching TV. If you don't know that I'm on my way means I will be on my way in 2 hours, then you're in for a surprise. Now, there could even be more serious consequences in a corporate environment. Miscommunication on time or deadlines can erode trust and destroy relationships. If you expect someone to get something done on a particular date, you need to understand what that person's attitude towards time is. Do they expect that you've already factored in a buffer so that if they turn in that assignment a day or 2 later, that's fine? Or do they know that you want it exactly on a particular date, not a day later? If you're the 6:50 type of person and you want something at a particular time, you might want to be more transparent with the other person as to why the task is needed at that time. Maybe show that there are other dependent tasks that rely on this task being done at this time. You might also want to be open that you haven't factored in any buffer in the schedule and you need this thing done on that date. If you're the 8 o'clock type person, try not to get upset that the 6:50 person is too strict with time. Maybe in that person's culture, not being exactly on time could be a sign of disrespect, even though your intention is not to disrespect. So make sure you understand your team's attitude towards time. It will save you a lot of headache and frustration, trust me. The next challenge is language fluency. Non-native speakers may not be as precise in a language. They may not always be able to find the exact right words to say to express their ideas, especially when the stakes are high. And this could lead to them not being as vocal in meetings. And their native speaking colleagues or their high fluency speaking colleagues might now dominate discussions or lead discussions in meetings. Now, I've seen a lot of cases where people from a certain culture would resent people from another culture because they feel like they get the promotions, they get the spotlight only because they are native speakers of that language, or maybe because they speak a particular variety of that language, and not necessarily because they are more competent. Now, if you're a native speaker or you have a high level of fluency in a language, be careful that you're not always dominating the discussion in a meeting, and try to be more patient with your colleagues who have less fluency than you. If on the other hand you struggle with fluency, try to make sure that you're not overly centering yourself. Maybe do some preparation before your meetings so that you can have your points on the tip of your tongue. If you lead a multicultural team, pay attention that some people's ideas do not carry more weight than others because of how they are expressed. I know it can be difficult. We tend to have a bias towards good communicators. A lot of good leaders are good communicators. Some of the most famous people in history are fantastic communicators, but do your best. So remember to be aware of how language fluency affects your team dynamic. The third challenge is perception of accents. Our society tends to consider some accents as more prestigious than others. A person in that accent can say anything and it will sound so good. Give me your money. Ha 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 ha. How much? Wait a minute. What accent was that? So you want to be careful that some accents are not being treated differently from other accents. And sometimes this can happen unconsciously. Maybe, for example, your exposure to a particular accent has always been in a negative light, and that can begin to color your judgment about the person who possesses an accent. And sometimes this happens because the kind of media that you've been exposed to portrayed this accent, or the person having this accent, in a negative way, and that tends to color the way you actually perceive that person. And this happens unconsciously. By the way, if you feel that people act differently towards you because of your accent, click on the link below to get some strategies on how to deal with that. And also, if you feel that you're having trouble understanding a particular accent, click on the other link below as well so that you can get some strategies on how to deal with that. So being aware of how accents are perceived in your environment, whether consciously or subconsciously, and ensure that ideas are being judged based on their merit and not on the accents that they come wrapped up in. The final challenge we're going to talk about today is attitude towards authority. Some cultures tend to emphasize hierarchy. I recall there was one time I went to a client office, and this was a meeting with maybe about 20 people. So we all started making our way into the meeting room, and there was one seat that remained empty. Now, I could have easily sat in that seat, but then there was somebody else from another culture who mentioned, don't make the mistake of sitting on that seat. That seat was reserved for the boss. And this was my first time seeing this in a business environment. And, thank goodness I didn't sit there. That might have been the end of my relationship with that client. So this culture emphasized hierarchy. In this culture, you might be seen as too forward or maybe even disrespectful if you voice your opinions openly or directly. So you might want to use some tact. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, we have egalitarian cultures. Egalitarian cultures tend to de-emphasize hierarchy and they prefer flatter organization. Please call me Abe instead of Your Majesty. In this type of culture, it's probably not weird for you to reach out to your boss's boss's boss and directly communicate with them. It's probably even expected from you to reach out to anybody in the organization that can help you. So remember to be aware of your team's attitude towards authority so that you're not unintentionally sending the wrong messages. In conclusion, remember to understand your culture's attitude towards time. Remember to be aware of how language fluency is affecting your team's dynamic. Remember to be aware of how accents are judged, whether consciously or subconsciously, in your team. And finally, remember to understand your culture's attitude towards authority. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can get more videos like this. And feel free to share this video so that other people can benefit. Until next time, take care.